If you like what you see, why don't you think about subscribing? And make sure to check out my channel for videos just like this. What's going on, folks? It's Mrbucketlist here, and today I'll be giving you all a full walkthrough and review of the Edgar Allan Poe Speakeasy presented by Fever. Let's check it out. Now, as I walk down the street to the destination, I kind of want to give you all some background. So Fever is a company that hosts different events all around the country. They're very good events, so they do things like candlelight musicals and things like this, and just different performances that are catered towards adults and date nights and things like that. I happen to go to this one, the Edgar Allan Poe Speakeasy, here in Orlando, but they actually have this touring around the country. Someone just left me a comment that they have one that's going around in California right now. So they're pretty much all over the place. I checked this one out again in Orlando during Halloween. Now, just to get some background about this event, so it was a 21 and up event. It cost about $54 and it lasted for about 2 hours. So altogether it was a pretty good, just like not too long, not too tedious, good event, good atmosphere. It was pretty cool. So as far as the seating goes, it's pretty much first come, first serve. So like usual, I try to get a good seat. I did show up pretty early. Unfortunately, I kind of got bum rushed when it was actually time to get in there, and so I kind of got a seat to the side, but I was still in the front row, so that wasn't a big issue. As far as actually walking in, so you walk in, you see a picture of Edgar Allan Poe, almost like a memorial type of thing. You got some little notes and candles and things like that. And then as you can see inside the actual place, so ours is held at a place called the Mez, but inside the actual location, it's just like, the atmosphere and the vibe is just dope. It was just cool. It felt like you're walking to like a gothic type of club. I don't know how to explain it, but it was really nice. Now, another thing, once you do find your seat, they will have the menu and almost the program at your seat. So each seat's going to have one of those. And again, this event actually includes 4 different drinks and 4 different stories. So basically a drink goes with the story. And they are custom crafted cocktails, and each and every one of them are good. I believe I still have the menu, so I'll probably go ahead and put it in here when I find it. But again, I enjoyed them all, and I'm not even a huge drinker, but they were strong, but they tasted good. They weren't like strong where you can taste the alcohol. They were more like they tasted good, but they had a kick to them once you kind of finished it.
He was a very, very poor man. In his life, Edgar was plagued by much pain, loss, disease.
Now, before I receive any comments, oh, you shouldn't be recording this and that. Look, basically they allowed us to record any and everything. They actually encouraged us to record because at the time of this recording, it was actually during the writer's strike. So they said, please, we don't get that much exposure. Record all you want, record whatever you can so we can basically get out there. So if you do go to one of these type of events, you want to record a video like I did, feel free. They'll definitely announce it in the opening little monologue. Now with that opening monologue, they do again kind of lay the ground rules. They kind of let you know how the flow is going to happen. So pretty much they're going to give you a drink, and then they're going to introduce the next story. The person's going to give their performance, and then after that they'll kind of go to an intermission where they kind of introduce the next story. Pick up your cups, bring out the new drinks, and kind of the cycle repeats for 4 different times. So 4 stories, 4 drinks.
Go like this. Will you join me?
Now, as you can see, these performances were great. I enjoyed every single story, and ironically, I had never heard a single Edgar Allan Poe story, so this was all new to me. And so I was just kind of listening, enjoying the vibe and things like that. And these actors, they just, they really put their heart and soul into their performances in their own different way. They weren't carbon copies of each other. They all had like a unique style to it, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
At my chamber door. It is this, and nothing more. Although, as my
In the corner of the room there stood a tall black clock of wood that gently marked the seconds as they passed.
Now, before I move on to the rating, I do want to give a heads up as far as this kind of the content of the stories. They are pretty graphic. Again, I didn't really know anything about Edgar Allan Poe's stories. I'd never heard any, and so I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh man, pretty graphic. But again, I was drinking, so I really didn't care. So if you're not really into the dark type of stuff, the just really intense and just this violent type of nature of those type of stories, you might want to stay away from this. But for me, I really didn't care. It was a really good time, a really good event. It was nice and laid back, and you can tell it was catered towards adults.
With a small pocket knife, opened it, grabbed the poor beast by the throat, and I deliberately cut one of its eyes from the socket.
Now, with that said, I highly recommend this. This is definitely a must-do if it comes to your area. Again, for me, it was about $54. This was back in 2023, October of 2023, so it may have changed. You know, inflation's been ridiculous right now. But either way, if you're looking for a cool date night, I did end up sitting beside some older ladies that we ended up hanging out with afterwards. But if you're looking for a cool date night or even solo like I initially planned when I first got there, either way, I highly recommend it just for something different to do. Now, what I'll go ahead and do is play just the audio as far as the different stories going forward. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you soon. Peace out.
True. I am nervous. Very. How can you say that I am mad? The disease had sharpened my senses, not dulled them. Spare my boot. Go like this. Will you join me? Open his door ever so cautiously. When the opening was sufficient enough to fit my head within inside, and then open it so that a single thin ray would fall upon the evil eye. And this I did for 7 long nights. But louder and louder, the old man's terror must have been extreme, and it grew quicker and quicker and louder and louder. The old man's hour had come. I threw open the door, left inside the room, and he shrieked once, only once, and I dragged his body and threw it to the floor, and his heavy bed on top of him. So cleverly, so cunningly, so that no human eye could have detected anything wrong. Not even his evil eye. When the hour struck 4 a.m., there came a knock to my door. I went down to open it. For what had I to fear? I could tell it calmly.
Mother, all those years before. This would drive a bit of a wedge between Edgar and his foster father, who decided he'd had enough and sent him away to enroll at West Point. And so he would sit at his writing desk for hours, sequestering himself from peers, friends, and even family until the only worthwhile company you might find in the humble
Order! Order! Let us now recount this heinous crime
its entirety. You may proceed, but please start from the beginning.
Nor solicit belief. Mad indeed would I be to expect it. Yet mad am I not. A nip. The fury of a demon instantly possessed me. I knew myself no longer. So I withdrew from my waistcoat pocket a small pocket knife, opened it, grabbed the poor beast by the throat, and I deliberately cut one of its eyes from the socket. The cat slowly recovered. No longer appearing to be in any pain, he went about the house as usual. Although, as might be expected, the cat fled at any sight of me. And this began to anger.
But as weird as this marriage may have seemed, as things often do for Edgar Allan Poe, it didn't last very long. See, Virginia would grow quite ill over the years, her health declining until in 1847, at the age of 20, and death takes a terrible toll on Edgar. His work actually begins to reflect this, where dying young women appear as frequent themes in his works.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak, nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping at my chamber door. It is a visitor, I muttered to myself. Only this and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember. At my chamber door. Yes, a late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. It is this, and nothing more. Presently, my soul grew stronger. Madam, your forgiveness I implore. The fact is, I was napping, and so faintly were you tapping.
Just outside of Gunner's Hall Tavern, he was found barely conscious, wearing clothes that were not his own and speaking in muddled and incoherent thoughts. Well, of course, it's the gravesite of Edgar Allan Poe every year on the eve of his birthday, leaving a partial bottle of cognac, along with 3 solitary roses at the site. A grim reminder that none of Red Death. Enjoy.
The Red Death had long been feeding on the country. No sickness had ever been so great a killer, or so fearful to see, along with sharp pains in the mind racing around in circles inside the head. And then there was the bleeding through the skin, though it was not cut or broken. And then, death. The bright red spots upon the face and body of his lad had died. He called unto himself 1,000 healthy, happy friends, and with them he went far away to live in one richness that masquerade. Now, there were 7 rooms in which the friends of Prospero danced. In his winding palace, little more than one room could be seen at a time. In each one of the rooms, there were 3 tall, pointed windows of colored glass, the same color used in each room. In the first room, there were blue cloth hangings on the wall, and blue were its windows. In the second room, the cloth hangings were purple. In the corner of the room, there stood a tall black clock of wood that gently marked the seconds as they passed. At the top of each hour, it spoke with a deep, loud, beautiful tone, as beautiful as music. But nevertheless, this was a beautiful masquerade party, as the dancers moved gently through the rooms throughout the night. At the top of the hour, the clock would speak, the music and the dancing would stop, and as they began to whisper about him amongst themselves, a feeling of surprise spread through the room. And then, sickening terror. Now in a group such as this, only a strange masquerader could have caused such a feeling. He was tall, he was very thin, and he was dressed from head to foot like a dead man ready for the grave. And his face looked like that of a dead man too, so much so, the nearest eye could not tell the difference. Now all of this would have been fine and well, except the sunrise. Many of the dancers came rushing into the room and they went to grab hold of the masquerader, but then they stopped in fear. They were afraid. So the stranger began to make his way through the room and no one dared to lay a hand on him. He passed within a few feet of Prospero, who stood still. He was surprised. So the strange masquerader began to make his way through the rooms with a slow, measured step. From the blue room into the purple room. From the purple room into the green room. From the green room into the yellow room. From the yellow room into the white room. From the white room and into the violet. And no one dared to go after him except Prospero. Prospero chased after the stranger with a sharp knife and he went to strike him. But the masquerader turned and he looked him in his eyes. And then there came a great cry, and the shiny knife fell on the black floor, covered in blood. And then Prospero fell dead. Many of the dancers, the strongest of the strong, came rushing into the room, and they went to grab hold of the masquerader. But when they grabbed him, they found his grave clothes. There was no body, no human form. And that's when they knew that somehow in the night, the Red Death had entered the room. Instantly, all of the dancers fell dead.
Did we have a good time this evening at the Edgar Allan Poe? My friends, it has been our absolute pleasure to perform in Orlando. We do not take it lightly that you showed up for us tonight.